Muerte!
Robert Duvall doesn't play cowboys, he becomes them. While other actors pose with Hollywood props, Duvall demands museum-quality firearms that actual frontiersmen carried into battle. From the dusty plains of Lonesome Dove to the violent streets of Open Range, we're counting down the 11 legendary weapons that transformed Robert Duvall into the most authentic Western actor of his generation. These aren't replicas chosen by prop masters. They're historically accurate instruments of frontier survival that tell the real story of the American West. Number 11. Colt 1851 Navy, The Apprentice's Iron True Grit 1969. At number 11, we have the revolver that introduced Robert Duvall to authentic Western firearms in one of cinema's most legendary Westerns. In True Grit, Duvall portrays Ned Pepper, the calculating outlaw leader who faces down John Wayne's Rooster Cogburn. The Colt 1851 Navy revolver Pepper carries isn't just another period gun. It's the weapon that defined mid-19th century frontier violence before the peacemaker existed. The Colt 1851 Navy's 36 caliber chambering fires an 80-grain lead ball at 900 feet per second through its 7.5-inch octagonal barrel, delivering 144 foot-pounds of stopping power. Weighing just 2 pounds 10 ounces with a 6-round capacity, this percussion revolver represented cutting-edge handgun technology in the 1850s and 60s. Duvall's Ned Pepper carries this Navy because it tells you everything about his character without dialogue. This was the gun Confederate guerrillas like Quantrill's Raiders carried during the Civil War. After the war, thousands of veterans kept their Navy Colts, making them ubiquitous on the frontier throughout the 1870s. Pepper's choice reveals a man formed by wartime violence who never fully left that world behind. Samuel Colt produced over 215,000 of these revolvers between 1850 and 1873, making it one of the most successful percussion revolvers ever manufactured. Wild Bill Hickok famously carried a pair of Navy Colts, cementing their reputation among professional gunfighters. In True Grit, Duvall's handling reveals an outlaw who survived by understanding his tools. Watch his draw in the final confrontation. There's no flash, just practiced economy of movement that speaks to years of violent experience. The Navy's relatively light weight made it fast from the holster, while its proven reliability meant it wouldn't fail when Pepper's life depended on it. Original Colt, 1851. Navy revolvers in good condition now command $3,000 to $8,000 at auction, with documented examples from famous owners reaching $25,000 or more. Number 10. Winchester Model 1873, The Cattleman's Choice, Lonesome Dove, 1989. Number 10. Takes us to the rifle that earned the nickname, The Gun That Won the West, and in Robert Duvall's hands during Lonesome Dove, it became the workhorse weapon of the frontier's final days. As Augustus McCrae, Duvall carries this lever-action legend because Gus understands that reliable firepower matters more than the latest technology. The Winchester Model, 1873 chambered in 4440 Winchester drives a 200-grain bullet at 1,190 feet per second through its 24-inch barrel, delivering 630 foot-pounds of devastating energy. Weighing 9 pounds with a 15-round tubular magazine, this lever-action rifle transformed frontier warfare by putting repeating firepower into the hands of ranchers, lawmen, and outlaws alike. What made the 1873 special wasn't raw power, but its genius chambering the same 4440 ammunition as the Colt Frontier 6-shooter, meaning a cowboy could carry one type of cartridge for both rifle and revolver. This interchangeability saved weight, simplified logistics, and potentially saved lives when ammunition ran short. In Lonesome Dove, Duvall's Gus treats his 1873 like a trusted partner during Indian attacks, buffalo hunts, and desperate rescue missions. Original Winchester Model 1873 rifles command $4,000 to $12,000, with special examples pushing values above $30,000. Number 9. Remington, 1875, Single Action Army, The Forgotten Competitor, Open Range, 2003. At number 9, we have the revolver that most Western fans have never heard of, and Robert Duvall's choice to carry it in open range demonstrates his commitment to historical accuracy over Hollywood convention. The Remington 1875 Single Action Army was Colt's primary competitor, and in many ways, It was the better gun that lost the marketing war. The Remington 1875's 45 Colt chambering drives a 255 grain bullet at 860 feet per second through barrels ranging from 5.5 to 7.5 inches, delivering 420 foot-pounds of proven stopping power. Weighing 2 pounds 12 ounces with a 6-round capacity, this single-action revolver matched the Colt Peacemaker's ballistics while offering several mechanical improvements. Duvall's boss Spearman carries this Remington because it tells you everything about his character's independence. While everyone else was buying Colts because of their reputation, Boss chose the gun that actually worked better. The Remington's superior grip angle provided more natural point-and-shoot capability, while its simpler internal mechanism meant fewer parts to break on the trail. Here's what most gun historians won't tell you. The Remington 1875 featured a more robust web beneath the barrel, making it stronger than the Colt in the critical stress area where barrel meets frame. The hammer also sat slightly lower, reducing the risk of snagging during a fast draw. But Remington's smaller marketing budget and Colt's established reputation meant the 1875 never achieved the commercial success it deserved. In open range, Boss Spearman makes decisions based on merit, not popularity. His choice of the Remington 1875 over the more famous Colt reveals a character who trusts his own judgment over conventional wisdom. When the final gunfight erupts, Duvall's handling shows the confidence that comes from carrying a weapon you've tested and trusted for years. Remington only produced approximately 25,000 1875 revolvers between 1875 and 1889, making original examples significantly rarer than Colt Peacemakers. Original Remington 1875s in good condition fetch $5,000 to $15,000, with documented military or law enforcement examples exceeding $25,000. Number 8. Colt Walker, the Hand Cannon, Broken Trail, 2006. Number 8 brings us to the most powerful handgun of the black powder era, and Robert Duvall's choice to carry it in Broken Trail reveals a character who understands that sometimes survival requires overwhelming firepower. The Colt Walker wasn't just a big revolver, it was a handheld artillery piece that redefined what a handgun could accomplish. The Colt Walker's 44 caliber chambering fires a 220 grain conical bullet at nearly 1,000 feet per second through its 9-inch barrel, generating 490 foot-pounds of devastating energy. Weighing a massive 4 pounds 9 ounces with a 6-round capacity, this percussion revolver delivered rifle-level power in a package that could be carried on horseback. In Broken Trail, Duvall portrays Print Ritter, a tough cowboy tasked with delivering a herd and protecting 5 Chinese girls across hostile territory. The Walker he carries announces his intentions before he speaks. This isn't a man interested in fair fights. He's carrying the most powerful weapon available because he understands that deterrence prevents violence more effectively than bravery. Captain Samuel Walker of the Texas Rangers worked directly with Samuel Colt to design this massive revolver in 1846. Walker wanted a weapon powerful enough to stop a horse and rider with a single shot, and Colt delivered. The Walker could be loaded with up to 60 grains of black powder, nearly double what other revolvers could handle. This massive powder charge created muzzle flash and recoil that shocked witnesses, but it also delivered stopping power that made the Walker legendary. Duvall's Print Ritter treats the Walker with the respect it demands. The revolver's size made it impractical for quick draw work, but mounted combat was its natural environment. A Texas Ranger on horseback with a brace of Walkers carried 12 shots of rifle-level power, making him a force multiplier against numerically superior enemies. Only about 1,100 Colt Walkers were manufactured in 1847, making original examples among the most valuable American firearms, commanding $75,000 to over $200,000 at auction. Number 7. Smith & Wesson Schofield, the Cavalry's Preference, Open Range, 2003. At number 7, we have the top-break revolver that the United States Cavalry preferred over the famous Colt, and Robert Duvall's choice to carry it reveals his deep understanding of tactical firearms history. The Smith & Wesson Schofield solved the one problem that killed more gunfighters than poor aim: slow reloading under pressure. The Schofield's 45 S&W chambering fires a 230 grain bullet at 730 feet per second through barrels ranging from 5 to 7 inches, delivering 270 foot-pounds of reliable stopping power. Weighing 2 pounds 8 ounces with a 6-round capacity, this revolver's true genius wasn't raw power. It was the revolutionary top break design that allowed simultaneous ejection of all spent cartridges. While Colt users fumbled with loading gates and ejector rods, Schofield shooters could break open the action, dump all 6 spent cases in one motion, drop in fresh cartridges, snap the gun shut, and be back in the fight. In sustained combat, this speed advantage proved fatal to anyone facing a Schofield-armed opponent. The cavalry adopted over 8,285 Schofields between 1875 and 1877. After field testing proved their superiority. In open range, Boss Spearman carries both a Remington 1875 and a Schofield, revealing a character who thinks 3 moves ahead. Duvall's handling during the climactic gunfight shows the tactical advantage of the top break system. When 6 shots weren't enough, Boss could reload faster than any Colt user, potentially saving his life and his friends' lives. The shorter .45 Schofield cartridge was specifically designed for reliable extraction through the top break mechanism. While it delivered slightly less power than the full-length .45 Colt, the speed advantage compensated for the modest velocity loss. Many cavalry officers privately preferred the Schofield's practical advantages over the Colt's superior ballistics. Duvall's Boss Spearman represents the professional cattleman who survived by making smart tactical choices. When the marshal and his deputies open fire on the corrupt rancher's hired guns, Boss's Schofield keeps him in the fight longer than inferior weapons would have allowed. Original Smith & Wesson Schofield revolvers, especially military-marked examples, command $8,000 to $18,000 at auction, with documented cavalry guns, exceeding $25,000. Number 6. Winchester Model, 1866. Yellow Boy, The Golden Legend, Lonesome Dove, 1989. Number 6 takes us to the brass-framed legend that earned the nickname Yellow Boy, and its appearance in Lonesome Dove represents the rifle that first brought repeating firepower to the American frontier. Robert Duvall understood that the Hat Creek Cattle Company would have armed themselves with proven weapons, and the Winchester 1866 was exactly that tool. The model 1866's 44 Henry rimfire chambering pushes a 200-grain bullet at 1,125 feet per second through its 24-inch octagonal barrel, creating 560 foot-pounds of frontier stopping power. Weighing 9¼ pounds with a 15 to 17 round tubular magazine, this lever-action rifle gave repeating devastation that made single-shot opposition obsolete overnight. The distinctive brass frame wasn't just decorative. It provided excellent corrosion resistance in the harsh alkali dust and extreme temperature changes of the Southwest. While iron-framed rifles rusted and seized, the Yellow Boy kept functioning through sandstorms, river crossings, and the brutal conditions that defined the cattle drive experience. This reliability made it the preferred arm of ranchers who couldn't afford mechanical failures hundreds of miles from any gunsmith. In Lonesome Dove, the outfit's Winchester 1866s represent practical frontier choices. These weren't wealthy men carrying the latest technology. They were working cowboys who'd bought proven rifles years earlier and maintained them through hard use. The 1866's toggle link action, inherited from the Henry rifle, proved remarkably reliable even when contaminated with dirt and debris. Oliver Winchester improved Henry's design by adding a loading gate on the right side of the receiver and a wooden forearm that protected the shooter's hand from the hot barrel. These seemingly minor changes transformed the Henry rifle from a fragile curiosity into a practical frontier tool. Between 1866 and 1898, Winchester manufactured approximately 170,000 Yellow Boys, arming everyone from miners to Mexican revolutionaries. Duvall's portrayal shows men who treat their rifles like valued partners. The 1866 appears in hunting scenes, guard duty, and the desperate Indian fights that test the outfit's survival skills. Its 15-shot capacity meant a skilled shooter could keep multiple attackers suppressed while others maneuvered or reloaded. Original Winchester Model 1866 rifles command $15,000 to $40,000, depending on condition and configuration. Number 5. Colt Single Action Army, the Peacemaker, Multiple Films. At number 5 stands the firearm that defined Robert Duvall's Western career across multiple films, and his relationship with it reveals how an actor becomes a legend by respecting the tools of the trade. The Colt Single Action Army wasn't just another prop in Duvall's hands. It was the physical embodiment of frontier justice that he carried in True Grit, Lonesome Dove, Open Range, and Broken Trail. The Single Action Army's .45 Colt chambering drives a 255 grain lead bullet through barrels ranging from 4 3/4 to 7.5 inches at 860 feet per second, delivering 420 foot-pounds of proven stopping power. Weighing 2.5 pounds with a 6-round capacity, this single-action revolver demanded deliberate intent and moral responsibility from every man who drew it. What separated Duvall from other actors was his understanding that the Peacemaker's single-action mechanism wasn't a limitation. It was a feature that forced conscious decision-making. You couldn't spray bullets in panic. Each shot required deliberately cocking the hammer, carefully aiming, and accepting full moral responsibility for the consequences. This mechanical requirement separated heroes from villains, professionals from amateurs. Watch Duvall's draw across different films. As Ned Pepper in True Grit, his hand moves to the Colt with the casual confidence of a man who survived countless gunfights. As Augustus McCrae in Lonesome Dove, his Peacemaker is a tool he's carried so long, it's become part of his identity. As Boss Spearman in Open Range, the Colt represents the moral authority of a man who's lived by a code for decades. Between 1873 and 1941, Colt manufactured over 357,000 single-action Army revolvers in dozens of calibers and barrel lengths. But the .45 Colt, with a 7.5-inch barrel, became the iconic configuration, perfectly balancing power, accuracy, and handling characteristics. The Peacemaker represented something deeper than mechanical advantage. It symbolized an era when men settled disputes face to face, when moral courage mattered more than numbers. In Duvall's hands, the Colt single-action army became a character itself, telling stories about honor, justice, and the price of civilization. Number 4. Sharps, 1874. Buffalo Rifle, The Long Reach, Broken Trail, 2006. Number 4 takes us to the rifle that professional buffalo hunters used to harvest millions of animals, and that made shots at impossible distances a reality. In Broken Trail, Robert Duvall's Print Ritter carries a Sharps 1874 because he understands that frontier survival sometimes depends on reaching out and touching threats before they get close enough to return fire. The Sharps 1874 chambered in 4570 government fires a 405-grain bullet at 1,350 feet per second through barrels ranging from 28 to 34 inches, delivering 1,640 foot-pounds of crushing energy. Weighing 10 to 12 pounds depending on configuration with a single-shot falling block action. This rifle represented the pinnacle of 19th century precision shooting technology. What made the Sharps legendary wasn't just power, it was accuracy. The falling block action locked up tight with no moving parts during firing, creating a platform stable enough for precision work at ranges exceeding 1,000 yards. Professional buffalo hunters like Billy Dixon made documented kills beyond 1,500 yards, shots that seemed impossible, but were simply the Sharps performing as designed. In Broken Trail, Print Ritter needs a weapon that can drop threats at distance when he's protecting 5 Chinese girls and a cattle herd across hostile territory. The Sharps gives him options that shorter-ranged weapons don't provide. He can engage threats from positions where return fire is ineffective, potentially ending confrontations before they escalate into close-quarters bloodshed. Christian Sharp's falling block design was brilliantly simple. A lever dropped the breech block, exposing the chamber for loading. The cartridge slid in, the lever closed the action with enormous mechanical advantage, and the rifle was ready to fire. This system could handle the most powerful black powder cartridges available, giving Sharps rifle stopping power that rivaled small artillery pieces. Duvall's training with the Sharps for Broken Trail shows his commitment to authenticity. Long-range precision shooting requires understanding ballistics, wind drift, and holdover at extended distances. Print Ritter's competence with the Sharps reveals a man who's invested time and ammunition learning his tools' capabilities, exactly as real frontiersmen did. The Sharps 1874 earned its reputation during the buffalo slaughter of the 1870s and 80s. Professional hunters would set up on high ground and systematically harvest entire herds, making kill shots at ranges where the animals couldn't even identify the threat. This capability made the Sharps the preferred weapon of men who needed guaranteed one-shot kills. Original Sharps 1874 rifles in good condition command $10,000 to $30,000, with special order features or documented provenance, pushing values above $75,000. Modern reproductions from Shiloh Rifle Manufacturing and Pater-Soli run $2,500 to $5,000, offering shooters the chance to experience this legendary precision rifle. But the Civil War had produced repeating rifles that changed warfare forever. Number 3. Spencer 1860 Carbine, the Repeating Revolution, True Grit 1969. At number 3, we have the rifle that gave Union forces a decisive technological advantage during the Civil War, and its appearance in True Grit represents the transitional period when the frontier was awash in surplus military weapons. Robert Duvall's portrayal of Ned Pepper shows an outlaw who armed himself with proven military technology rather than civilians sporting arms. The Spencer 1860 Carbine's 56-56 Spencer chambering fires a 350 grain bullet at 1,200 feet per second through its 22-inch barrel, delivering 1,120 foot-pounds of devastating energy. Weighing 8.5 pounds with a 7-round tubular magazine in the buttstock, this lever-action rifle gave cavalry troopers repeating firepower that shocked Confederate forces equipped with single-shot weapons. What made the Spencer revolutionary was its magazine system. 7 metallic cartridges loaded into a tube that inserted through a trapdoor in the buttstock. After each shot, cycling the lever extracted the spent case, cocked the hammer, and chambered a fresh round. An experienced shooter could fire all 7 rounds in 15 seconds, reload in another 20, and continue the engagement while single-shot users were still fumbling with ramrods. In True Grit, the Spencer represents military surplus that flooded the frontier after the Civil War. The government sold thousands of these rifles for pennies on the dollar, and outlaws like Ned Pepper recognized their tactical value. 7 shots meant Pepper's gang could engage Paz's and lawmen with sustained firepower that forced opponents to take cover or die. Christopher Spencer patented his design in 1860, and over 200,000 were manufactured by war's end. President Abraham Lincoln personally test-fired a Spencer on the White House lawn in 1863, reportedly hitting a board at 40 yards with all 7 shots. The president's endorsement led to massive military contracts that equipped Union cavalry with the most advanced military rifle in the world. Duvall's Ned Pepper carries the Spencer because it reveals his character's intelligence. He's not a mindless brute. He's a tactical thinker who arms his gang with weapons that provide advantages over lawmen still carrying single-shot rifles. The Spencer's 7-shot capacity means Pepper can keep adversaries pinned down while his gang maneuvers or escapes. The Spencer's rimfire cartridge was underpowered compared to later centerfire designs, and its tubular magazine in the buttstock created awkward balance. These limitations caused military adoption of the trapdoor Springfield and Winchester repeaters after the war. But for a decade, the Spencer represented the cutting edge of military rifle technology. Original Spencer 1860 carbines in good condition command $4,000 to $12,000, with documented military markings or unit histories pushing values above $20,000. Reproductions are rarely available, making original Spencers the only option for collectors wanting to own this piece of firearms history. But technological progress continued, and Duvall's most famous character carried a rifle that represented modern thinking. Number 2. Colt Lightning Rifle, the underrated performer, Lonesome Dove, 1989. Number 2 brings us to one of the most underrated rifles in American firearms history, and Robert Duvall's choice to carry it as Augustus McCrae reveals a character who embraced innovation even when conventional wisdom favored other designs. The Colt Lightning pump-action rifle represented forward-thinking technology that deserved better than the commercial failure it received. The Lightning's 44-40 Winchester chambering launches a 200-grain bullet at 1,190 feet per second through its 26-inch barrel, delivering 630 foot-pounds of stopping power. Weighing 6.5 pounds with a 15-round tubular magazine, this pump-action rifle provided lever-action firepower with a faster cycling rate and skilled hands. Here's what most gun historians won't tell you. The Colt Lightning's pump action could be cycled faster than any lever action if the shooter practiced. Instead of moving your entire hand through a large lever stroke, you simply slid the forearm backward and forward. This shorter movement allowed trained shooters to maintain their sight picture better and fire faster follow-up shots. But American shooters were already committed to lever actions, and Colt's late entry into the rifle market doomed the Lightning to commercial failure. In Lonesome Dove, Augustus McCrae carrying a Colt Lightning reveals his progressive mindset. While his partner Woodrow Call represents tradition and conservative thinking, Gus embraces new ideas when they offer practical advantages. The Lightning's pump action was mechanically simpler than the Winchester's toggle link system, with fewer parts to break on a months-long cattle drive, hundreds of miles from any gunsmith. Colt manufactured the Lightning from 1884 to 1904 in multiple calibers and configurations. Despite superior mechanics, Winchester's dominance of the lever action market meant Lightning production totaled only around 89,000 rifles. This commercial failure created scarcity that drives modern collector demand far beyond what original sales numbers would suggest. Duvall's portrayal shows Gus treating the Lightning like a trusted companion. The pump action appears in hunting scenes, guard duty, and the desperate moments when the Hat Creek outfit faces threats that test their survival skills. Its smooth action and 15-shot capacity made it ideal for the sustained gunfights that characterized frontier violence. The Lightning's failure teaches an important lesson about firearms marketing. The best design doesn't always win. Winchester's established reputation and aggressive marketing overwhelmed Colt's technical advantages, proving that sometimes being first matters more than being best. But shooters who actually used Lightning rifles often preferred them to Winchester lever actions. Original Colt Lightning rifles command $8,000 to $20,000, depending on caliber, condition, and configuration. Special order features or documented provenance can push values above $40,000. No manufacturers currently produce Lightning reproductions, making original rifles the only option for collectors wanting to own this underrated design. But one rifle defined Robert Duvall's greatest Western performance and created a legend that endures decades later. Number 1. Remington Rolling Block, the icon maker, Lonesome Dove, 1989. Here stands the firearm that made Robert Duvall's Augustus McCrae immortal and represents the absolute pinnacle of single-shot rifle technology. The Remington Rolling Block isn't just Duvall's most famous Western gun. It's arguably the most iconic rifle in television history, transforming a supporting weapon into a character that defined Lonesome Dove's visual identity. The Rolling Block's 45-70 government chambering fires a 405-grain bullet at 1,350 feet per second through its 30-inch barrel, delivering 1,640 foot-pounds of devastating energy. Weighing 9.5 pounds with Remington's ingenious rolling block action, this single-shot rifle represented mechanical perfection that armed militaries on 6 continents. What made the rolling block legendary was its action's brilliant simplicity and incredible strength. A breech block rotated on a pin, opening to expose the chamber. The cartridge slid in, the block rolled closed, and a hammer dropped on the firing pin. 2 moving parts, 0 complications. This elegant design could handle the most powerful cartridges available while maintaining reliability under conditions that would disable more complex mechanisms. In Lonesome Dove, Gus McCrae's rolling block becomes as much a part of his identity as his philosophical nature and his complicated relationship with Clara Allen. Duvall carries this rifle through the entire miniseries, from Texas to Montana, using it in the buffalo hunt scene, the Indian battles, and the tragic moments that define the story's emotional arc. The rolling block witnesses Gus's journey, his triumphs, and ultimately, his death. Remington sold over 7 million rolling blocks worldwide between 1863 and the early 1900s, arming nations including Sweden, Denmark, Egypt, and dozens of others. The design's strength and reliability made it the most successful military rifle export in American history. No other American rifle achieved such global dominance during the black powder era. Duvall trained extensively with the rolling block before filming, working to achieve authentic handling that reflected a man who'd carried this specific rifle for years. Watch his movements throughout Lonesome Dove. The rifle is never just a prop. It's a tool that Gus treats with the casual familiarity born of decades of partnership. He knows its balance, its recoil, its capabilities at different ranges. The rolling block's appearance in Lonesome Dove sparked renewed collector interest in these military surplus rifles. What had been inexpensive shooters suddenly became valuable artifacts connected to one of television's greatest westerns. Duvall's portrayal didn't just create a character, it created a market phenomenon that continues today. Here's the secret that makes Duvall's choice perfect. The rolling block represents Gus McCrae's character philosophy. It's simple, reliable, and effective. Gus doesn't need complexity or the latest technology. He trusts a proven tool that's never failed him, just as he trusts old friendships, old values, and old wisdom in a world that's changing faster than he'd prefer. The buffalo hunt scene showcases the rolling block's capabilities. Gus makes precise long-range shots that drop buffalo cleanly, demonstrating both the rifle's accuracy and his mastery of it. Later, during the Indian attacks, the rifle's reliability under stress saves lives and demonstrates why Gus chose this weapon over fancier alternatives. Original Remington rolling block rifles in military configuration command $1,500 to $5,000, depending on country of origin, condition, and markings. Scarce variants or documented examples can exceed $15,000. Sporting models with special features bring $3,000 to $8,000. Several manufacturers produce modern reproductions in .45 70 and other calibers for $700 to $1,500. The rolling block made Robert Duvall's Augustus McCrae immortal because it perfectly captured the essence of the character. Simple, reliable, deadly effective, and trusted without question. When audiences remember Lonesome Dove, they remember Gus with his rolling block, riding the plains with Woodrow Call, living the last days of the open range. Robert Duvall's Western firearms reveal a truth that separates great actors from legends. The weapon a man carries tells his story without words. From Ned Pepper's Colt Navy in True Grit to Augustus McCrae's rolling block in Lonesome Dove, each gun reflects the character's psychology, history, and moral standing. Duvall succeeded where other actors failed because he understood that authenticity requires research, training, and respect for the tools that shaped American history. He didn't just carry these weapons. He studied their mechanics, learned their history, and portrayed men who understood that survival depended on choosing the right tool and mastering it completely. From the massive Colt Walker to the elegant Remington rolling block, each firearm represents a different aspect of frontier life: the working cowboy's practical Winchester, the professional gunfighter's quick reloading, Schofield, the long-range precision of the Sharps, the moral authority of the peacemaker. Together, they tell the complete story of how the West was actually won, not by the fastest gun, but by the wisest choices. Which Robert Duvall Western gun impressed you most? Drop a comment below with your favorite and tell us which firearm captured the essence of his greatest character. Hit subscribe and that notification bell for more deep dives into the authentic weapons that built American cinema. Remember that legendary actors don't just carry guns, they transform them into extensions of character that endure long after the credits roll.